I've known Sean literally since we were toddlers. I don't know any time. I'm going to cry more than she did. I've known Sean. I've never known a time where Sean wasn't part of my life. He's my brother. He's not my cousin. We spent summers together, every vacation together, and when we weren't together, we were pen pals, and we'd write back and forth. I'd write him every week. He'd write me every other month. That's how the phone calls go nowadays. We've remained friends all this time, and as adults we've been friends, and when we go out, people mistake us for brothers, but we correct them and we tell them that we're twin cousins. And when they have a puzzle, we say, well, we're not identical. I could argue, I think, that I know him better than anyone in this room. At least parts of him better than him. Christy knows parts of him better than I do. It's not written down, it just occurred to me. I know, that's a shame. I apologize in advance, almost in advance for this. I can't help myself. So, since I know Sean, I think, better than anyone, this is really advice to Christine. Not advice, but Sean Conway 101 for Christine, now that it's too late. So this is some of what I've learned about Sean in the past 40 years. For one thing, you may not know, he's not particularly handy. And I tried to, I know he's not handy, there's a lot of examples of that, but just one example of that was the day that he bought a couple bikes. He bought a bike rack. He was going to get into fitness. And on the way home, he was handy enough. He was savvy enough, paying attention enough to say, "Are those bikes slipping down a little bit from the back of my Jeep?" But it wasn't handy enough to stop them from bouncing down the highway minutes later. And some people just know of Sean. They know he's a teacher. They know he's a writer. He actually has written several full-length novels. He wrote a novel when he was probably 11 years old, around that time. He wrote a book, A Million Miles into Space. It was a full-length novel he wrote by hand. But you might think he's an intellectual. But when you stop and think that 1 million miles into space is only about 1% the distance to the sun, you might realize that he's ambitious. I'll address that later, actually. He plays tennis, and he's active, but I wouldn't describe him as athletic. He's not a natural athlete. I remember when we were young kids, me, my brother, and Sean, back when they lived in Andover, we had I don't know why, we had an impromptu foot race. I'm not going to say anything about his performance except that at the end of the foot race, because of his speed and grace, my father nicknamed him Moose. It's summertime, so you might see him with his shirt off, and you'll notice that he's lost his six-pack abs. The abs that no one's seen since he developed them as a fetus. The last example, great example I have of his athleticism is he and I, years ago, like 5, 7 years ago, went and visited my father down in Florida, and we were kayaking in his canal, each in our own kayak. Why are you laughing? And he saw me struggle to get out on the dock. This kayak's tough to get out of. So he decided he'd outsmart me, and he went over to the dock that was it was a little higher, and you could climb out on it. Of course, the piece gave away. I knew this was going to happen. If I had a camera, I'd be showing this on the video today. Piece gave way, fell over backwards into the drink, and we were ready to go out. So in the clothes that we were going to go out on, he was wading through the canal up to his chest. Which brings me to my next point, which is not particularly good with money. Because he had his wallet with him, and we were ready to go out. So he had like $150 in his pocket. And, but he, being no dummy, he said, you know what, I got an idea. I don't want to go out with wet money. I'll dry it off in the microwave. Which is an old bar trick, so it sounds stupid. And I thought it was stupid, but then he explained to me it was an old bar trick. So he put it in the microwave, and then he went to change out of his wet clothes, and I think he went to take a shower or something too. And about 15 minutes later, I hear a ding, and I smell something that most of you probably haven't smelled before. It is $150 worth of money ashes. So don't let him handle a lot of cash. And you think if he's not bad at cash, maybe he's ambitious? He's not particularly ambitious, which I first realized when we were young kids, and he got fired from his job folding pizza boxes. And then I came to realize that, for sure, on the day that he got married, and he was still living with his parents. Judging by the laughter, I don't think everyone can do that. But it's okay, he's got his own separate door. So look, hey Sean, I'm going to skip a couple paragraphs here, because I love you. So here's the point of my toast, because you have to say something nice. And this is true, and all of this is true, by the way. Here's where I'm going to lose it. One of the things that I'm sure of is I've known him for 40 years. I've never met anyone who didn't like Sean. I've never met anyone who had a bad word to say about Sean. Most people... No, pick it up. And with me around, that's a big contrast. Not only do most people like him, most people adore Sean. My best friends, Esther, who's here, my friend John Calaveras, my brother who's here, will all attest to it. They all grown to like him more than they like me. I mentioned my brother, by the way. And what's more is, over the years, over 40 years, all our girlfriends and now wives all adore him more than they adore them. So what I wanted to say, this is the advice part, was that you guys are going to have a long time together. And there are going to be times you wish he was more handy. And there are going to be times you wish he was better with money or maybe more ambitious. But I'm confident that you will always love him as I have. So my best friend, my new best friend, Christine.